malome kwa lapeng. Welcome to Mind Your Mind with Kifilwe Mochapelu. Yes, I said mind your mind. Now, for the purpose of today, we will be looking at the statement, idealized in principle, but disregarded in reality. Idealized in principle, but disregarded in reality. Let's look at the term principle. A principle is a fundamental truth or belief which guides your way of doing things or guides your conduct. A reality is a state of affairs on how things are on the actual. So I brought this topic today because I find that many a time there's a great disconnect or a gap between your principle, somebody's principles versus their own reality. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's look at the story of Tshepo and Modiegi. So Tshepo and Modiegi, they value honesty, they value effective and open communication, and they've set that to be their own principle, which will guide their way of their relationship. So now, the awkward part of the weirdness to this is that every time they have a conflict, Tshepo and Modiegi, between them, nobody takes an initiative for them to talk openly about issues or to even have an effective discussion around them, therefore, and then have a problem solving after that. Now, Tshepo and Modiegi, when, for instance, presented with a conflict, when they are facing a certain problem with their relationship, none of them say anything. Tshepo is always the first one to say, I can't talk about this, and he walks out. Now, you have this, your principle is open communication, your principle is honesty, your principle is effective communication. However, your reality is exactly the opposite of that. And when I'm saying disregarded in reality, I mean exactly that. We hold certain principle, but when it comes to reality, we disregard them altogether. Disregard can be consciously or unconsciously disregarding your very own principle. I say this because I think for some odd reason, we think as we are in a relationship that certain things should happen magically. Yes, ideally we wanted to have this effective communication, openness and all that. But then how will that happen if you don't take that initiative? I think as people we really undermine the power, the willpower, our own willingness to doing things. We really undermine that it takes us for things to happen. Things don't happen magically. And you have to cultivate a certain culture of doing things so that you can really, now there can be a synergy between your principle and your own reality, so that you can really practice that open communication. You can really practice that honestly and effective problem solving and all that. But who will it take, if not you, for these things to happen? That's my question. If ideally, yes, people should communicate, there must be this loving and all these things in a relationship, but you are not willing to do anything about it. In reality, you are disregarding the very same thing. For instance, in marriages, when we do many of our talks, you find that people think we run things by the book. They say, no, that doesn't happen. Why should we have marriage goals? Why should we have this? Why? Even principles, some people don't even come in to say this is talk around this and negotiate their principles to say, okay, I value this, and their values to say, I value this, I value that, so that they can practice the very same thing in their relationship or marriages. So many a time, you find that there's a very disconnect because of the very same thing that I'm saying. To say we don't talk and we don't take initiatives for us to see our principles through so that we can practice them and that live it, that becomes your reality. It doesn't just remain in your thoughts and in what you hypothesize on your own, thinking of these things in your mind. But when it comes to reality and practice, there's nothing being implemented. Idealized in principle, but disregarded in reality.